Hello designers and welcome back to another Affinity Designer tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how to create diamonds, lots of diamonds. We'll start off from the basic shapes and work our way up, making different variations. I'll teach you many different techniques, and then I'll show you how to create a more three-dimensional diamond and different cuts. If you're interested, let's dive in. Okay, so we're going to be creating lots of different diamonds today. And we'll start off with a really simple one to begin with. Before I do that, you can probably notice that I'm using Affinity Designer in light mode. That's because one of my subscribers requested I do so a fair while back, and a few people liked it, and they said it's way easier to see like this, so I'm just going to test another tutorial with light mode. It looks really different for me as well. I'm used to dark mode, so it's a little bit jarring, but I do kind of like it. Anyway, let's get on with it. First thing I'm going to enable is snapping, because we're going to be moving shapes around and we want them to snap to each other. So enable that first. If you want to see my snapping options, there they are. The first tool we'll use is the triangle tool. Head on over to the left hand side, long press that shape there, click on triangle tool, click, drag out triangle that looks something like that. Okay, click on the move tool. I'm going to be moving between the move tool and the node tool quite a lot. So move tool is V on the keyboard, node tool is A. Okay, so click and drag it till it kind of snaps into the middle there. There's that line. And now we'll just go over to the color tab. We'll set the fill to none because we just want a black outline. So click on the stroke, set it to black. We have a black stroke. It's quite thin right now. Let me zoom in. If you want to increase that, you can press on the right bracket key on your keyboard to increase it, or left bracket key to decrease, okay? Or just simply head on up to the stroke width and just drag it up like that. Okay, that will be okay. So from this point, I'm going to be converting this shape to curves, because if I switch to the node tool, remember that's A, you can't see any nodes because it's still in that smart shape mode. So head on up to convert to curves, click on that, and now we can see the nodes. Okay, let's begin our copy and paste journey. So the first way of duplicating, I'm going to use Command J. That's typically used for power duplicate, but you can use it like this as well. So click the first node at the top there, hold shift, drag it down to around about here, I think, and let go. Click that first shape again, and this time I'll use a different method of duplicating. So I'll just switch over to the move tool, which is V. I'll hold down shift, command, click, and I'll drag it to the left hand side and let go. Now drag that bounding box on the left, just click and drag that in till it looks something like this and let go. Now switch over to the node tool, which is A. And from this point, okay, basically I'm trying to make this line here kind of match that one there, okay? So I want it to go up in that kind of respect. So what I'm going to do is just click and drag this till it snaps onto that stroke there, let go. Now I'll click on it again, hold shift and just drag it up, okay, until it snaps to that pyramid on the right hand side there and let go. That's the most complex thing you'll do for this shape at least. From here on out, we're just going to copy and paste. So I'm going to press Command J. I'm going to click this node over here. I'm going to drag it to that top of that pyramid over there. And I'll select that shape again. Press Command C, Command V. That's another way of duplicating. And I'll click on the node at the top and just drag it down to the bottom there. So we have half a diamond. I'm going to switch to the move tool and I'm going to select all of those shapes on the left hand side there. I'm going to make a duplicate of this. So Command J, that's made a duplicate. Head up to transform, click on flip horizontal, hold down shift, click, drag until it snaps into place. There we go, it's snapped into place. Let go. You have your diamond. How cool is that? And you can play around with how long you want this diamond to be down there just by simply selecting everything, switching over to the node tool, and then you can select the nodes down here. If you select all of them, because remember there's lots of nodes on top of each other down there, all of them are selected, hold down shift, click, and you can drag it up or down to make it the right kind of height you want it to be. That will do, so I'll just let go. You can do that with the top as well. If you don't want it to be so beefy at the top there, you could just hold shift, click, and just drag that down. So up to you how you want your diamond to look. I'll probably leave it around here. I'll switch to the move tool. Now that the basic shape of the diamond is made, I'm going to make a duplicate and play around with it further. So I'm going to select all of them like we have, and I'm just going to scale it down. So hold down shift and scale down. If you scale down and it still looks like really thick, obviously the stroke looks thicker than it was before, it's because you don't have your stroke scale with object selected. Okay, so if I just press Command Z, I click on Scale with Object. Now I just hold down Shift, click, and scale down. The stroke is still the same thickness, okay? So I'll just chuck that over to the side there. It's a bit smaller. Zoom in, and now I'll make a duplicate. Hold Shift, Command, and drag off to the side there. So what can we do with this shape here? Well, first of all, because there's loads of layers going on here, I'm just going to neatly package this one up on the left-hand side here. So I'll just select all of those, and I'll press Command G on the keyboard, and that's grouped it. You see down here, I can call this the basic diamond and press return. And now we'll just concentrate on this one. So from this point, I will select everything, and we can use the contour tool. So over here on the left-hand side, you'll see contour tool, or shortcut is O on the keyboard. Click on that. If you click and drag to the left, you can see it creates a kind of gap between everything. And that looks kind of cool. But what if we wanted an outline to go around that? Well, let me press Command Z to go back a step. Command Z. Okay, so from this point, I'm going to make a copy. I'm going to press Command C. And this will be our outline copy. And with whatever we have in front of us, we're going to add all of these together so it just is one shape. So head on up to Boolean Operations and click Add. So now we have this kind of Superman emblem shape here. And remember, I pressed Command C before, so I can press Command V now to copy what I had there before. So Command V, and that's our original layers back in. And as we're still in the contour tool, we could just click and drag to the left to create that gap there. I'll drag it to around about here and let go. If you're happy with this, you can go ahead and bake the appearance. And I want a little bit more of a gap between the outline and all of the shapes inside. So I'll just select the outline here, and we'll use the contour tool on this. So I'll use the contour tool shortcut, which is O, and I'll just click and drag that out. And you can see that the outlines, they're going a bit rounded on the side there. If you don't want that, you can head on up to Miter Joins, just in the context toolbar there. If you click on that, it ends up being sharper. And if you look, it's still a little bit rounded on the edge there. That's because my stroke is set to round join. I can click on this and it makes it really sharp, but I'm not that bothered, so I'll just leave it on rounded. Okay, let's just make sure we get that right. Round about here, I think, and I'll press Bake Appearance. So we have two different kinds of diamonds from one shape that we've made. Let's go ahead and play with it further. So we've seen the diamond in this black outline. Now it's time to fill it with some color. So I'm going to click on the color tab up here, and I'm just going to drag it onto our kind of workspace so it's a lot easier. And just select everything and go down to our stroke. Let's set that to none. Click on the fill, and we'll set it to some kind of blue color. And from this point, you just select each piece of it, and maybe we can start with a darker blue. The center will go a little bit lighter, and over the left, we can get a little bit lighter than that. And you see what I'm doing? I'm just selecting each part and making it slightly lighter or darker, etc. And I'll select these two pieces here and make them a little bit lighter as well. So, you know, given more time, I can play around with the colors, make them better, maybe create a color chord. You can check out my tutorial for that. But this is your basic kind of block colors on this diamond. If we go ahead and copy that, we can start introducing some gradients into this as well. So again, I'm just going to make all of this the same color. I'll make it quite a light blue here. And now I'll select each piece and I will add a gradient. So with this piece selected, I'm going to press G on the keyboard. That's our gradient tool. Now I'll just click and drag from the bottom and up. And in fact, I want that to be the other way around, so I can just click and drag down like this. In fact, I'll turn snapping off just so it doesn't get in the way. So I've selected that area, applied a gradient. I select the center and apply another gradient. And I could just go around applying these gradients to the different sections that we have here. There we go. And I'll just kind of do it randomly. A couple more pieces to do. So there we go. We have gradients in our diamond. What else can we do? Starting off with the base shape again, we'll get the contour tool involved. So again, with my color, I'm just going to select the stroke, set it to none, set the fill to some kind of blue, this blue that we had there before. And from this point, just like we did in the very first example, I can press Command C. That's to copy that. go up to Boolean operations and click add. Now we have that Superman symbol again. Now I can press on Command V, and that's copy all of those pieces in again. We'll make that slightly, maybe we'll make it darker for now, and press O on the keyboard. That's our contour tool, and then we can just click and drag that inwards slightly. In fact, I think we should probably change that to a lighter color and make that slightly less thick there. So I'm going to press Bake Appearance, and now I'll select the outline. There we go, and I'll press O again on the keyboard just to drag that out ever so slightly. Click on the contour type, just like we did first, the miter joins, a little bit more sharp on the edges, and we'll drag it to around about there, and Bake Appearance. We don't actually have to have a fill in the background there. I mean, you can change it to whatever you want. We could add an outline to this. So instead of a fill, we can click on stroke, and we can choose the same color stroke again. And we can increase the thickness of that, just stroke thickness up like that. And instead of setting it to align to the center, we can set it to align to the stroke to outside. So if I click on that, you can see we still have the correct amount of space between our shapes inside, as before it was like that, which is kind of messing up the spacing a bit. So align to outside, and I will also click on our join, miter join, give it that sharp corner there. And I'll choose a lighter color for the stroke, and I'll just press V so that we can select all of those shapes inside, and we'll make that exactly the same as well for the fill. So there we go. There's another version of the diamond design again. Oh, and there's one more thing you could do. You could add all of these, the stroke and all the inside shapes together, and then add a gradient to that. So I'll select the outside stroke, and I'll just go up to Layer, Expand Stroke. Now I can select all of them, and we can use Boolean operations and add them together. And now I can press G on the keyboard for our gradient tool, and then just click and drag down like this. And there we go. Your gradient is applied to every part of this design. Change the color to whatever you want. Add a black background to give it more impact, maybe. Send it to the back. By the way, the shortcut is Shift Command left bracket key. And there we go. That looks cool, doesn't it? Okay, let's move on to a different kind of diamond. In this example, we will create a diamond with a slightly different cut to it. And maybe you recognize them. I'm no diamond expert, that's for sure. But we're going to create it a slightly different way than we did the previous one. So head down to the triangle tool, select that, click and drag out your triangle. That's a little bit thick there, so I'll just reduce that by pressing the left bracket key on the keyboard. Press the move tool, and we'll flip this upside down. So I'll just drag this handle, hold down Shift, drag it around like that, and I'll just drag it down somewhere like this. Let's snap it to the center there. Now we're going to head back over to the left hand side, and we will choose the trapezoid tool, this one here, and I'll just click and drag out our trapezoid, let go, press V, the move tool again, and I'll just snap it down like this. So now you can just play around with however long you want each section to be, and select both of them. Just hold Shift and select the other shape. Now add them together as one shape. Just like we did in previous examples, head up to the Boolean operations, click on add. We now have our kind of Superman symbol again. We're going to duplicate this. So I'll just press Command J, and I will hold the bounding box on the right hand side here. Just click on it, hold Command, and you basically scale to the left there. Okay, so the last thing we need now is the little line to go across it. So I'm going to select P, which is the pen tool, by the way, and I will click once here, hold Shift, click once there. And we can give it a little bit of thickness. It doesn't really matter too much right now. So I'll just increase the stroke a little bit with the right bracket key, and I will select the move tool, click drag to select everything. And we could use the shape builder tool to basically select each area so it creates a new individual shape. Because right now we have 3, but I actually want each one of these little sections to be a shape. In fact, before I do that, I'm just going to drag this out slightly. There we go. So I'll select all of them again, head on down to the shape builder tool. Shortcut is S on the keyboard. Click on that. And before we go ahead and do anything, we're going to head up to the context toolbar, click on the action, create a new shape from selected areas. Okay, so as I hover around, you can see these lines basically telling you, is this the section you want? Well, I'm going to select all of them. So 1, 2, 3, each time I'm clicking, by the way, 4, 5, 6. Okay, we've got all of our new shapes that have been selected. I'll press V on the keyboard and we'll delete the first few layers that we had. Remember, there was just 3, wasn't there? So I'll select those in the layers panel, click and drag them off. I no longer need these. Delete. So we have our new diamond. And with this, we can go ahead and make a duplicate and we can color them in just like we were before. I can drag in our color again and I'll select all of them. Get rid of the stroke, set fill to none. Sorry, the stroke to none. Click on the fill, choose some kind of blue color, just like we did before, and just go around and change each of them ever so slightly. Make that a little bit lighter because it's on top. And same for this one here. The last one, I'll make that something like this. Yeah, that will do. So we have our new diamond. Great. We can also add those gradients just like we did before. So I can select all of them. I'll just make it the same blue again. I make the diamond the same color because when I switch over to the gradient tool, it's more uniform from light to dark. If I would have left it the other way, the gradient would have been different depending on how dark and light the color was. So again, I just select each area, press G on the keyboard, switch to the gradient tool and just click and drag around. And I'll just go around clicking and dragging. I'll fast forward this bit. Okay, and it is done. Obviously, I used a blue gradient and it went to lighter blue. If you don't like this color and you just want to see what it would be like in a different color, you don't have to go around changing individual pieces colors. You could just select all of it. Let me make a copy of it. I will press Command, Shift, click and drag to make a duplicate. With this, I'm going to group it. So I'll press Command G. That's going to group all of those together. And with that group, I can head down underneath the layers. See this one here? It says adjustments. Click on it. Go to recolor. You see it will just recolor this group here. And I can set it to whatever I want. Maybe I want a slightly greener one. Maybe bring down the lightness slightly. You can play around with this. Makes it a lot quicker and easier to see the kind of colors you want to use. Make a purple one here, a bit lighter. Yeah, very cool. Okay, let's move on. In this section, we'll create a diamond, which is more three-dimensional. And basically, I'm going to try and have this on the left-hand side so you can see as we're creating which sections I will be creating. And hopefully that helps somewhat. So the first shape we'll create is the top section here, and we'll use the polygon tool to achieve that. So on the left-hand side, go ahead and click on the bottom shape. Find the polygon tool. There it is. Click on it. Now click and drag out your polygon. We want to change this to 6 sides because right now it's 5. Head up to the context toolbar. You'll see 5 is mentioned there, so we'll change it to 6 and press return. Now we will grab the handle and we'll rotate it 90 degrees by holding shift. There we go. And we'll head up to convert to curves, click once on that so that we can see all of the nodes. Okay, switching over to the move tool, which is V on the keyboard. I'm going to squash this down somewhat so it kind of matches the one on the left-hand side. And I'll probably just drag this out a little bit as well. Yeah, somewhere like that. Okay, so we have our first shape. The next shape we'll create is the trapezoid, basically this section here. So on the left-hand side, find the trapezoid tool. There it is. Click once on it. Now we'll zoom in and we'll just click and drag out like that. Switch to the move tool and marry them up to each other. Okay, and just drag that down a little bit so it's a little bit thicker. Okay, I think as I'm going, I will try and match the colors on the left-hand side. So I'll just briefly change it. If you ever want to use the color picker tool, just select the shape you want. Select the color picker tool, drag it onto whichever color you like. Let go and it applies it, okay? And I'll just do that for that one. So I won't mention that I'm doing that again, but you know how I'm doing it, okay? There we go. Okay, next one is basically the triangle here. And we can recreate this triangle by recycling this shape. So I'll press Command J to make a duplicate of this. I'll drag this handle down a little bit. I'll click on Convert to Curves so we can see those nodes. I'll delete one of the nodes. And I'll just click on this node here and I'll hold down Shift, click and drag just till it snaps to the center. So I'll just drag that down and we have our bottom section. Again, I'm going to change the color. to match. So from this point, we'll just copy and paste basically. So I'll switch to the move tool again, select the trapezoid. I'll press Command J again, switch to the node tool, click on convert to curves so we can see those nodes. And I'll just click on this node here, try and snap it to that top section there. And I'll do the same thing for this, but I'll just kind of eyeball it. Basically, you see that line here. We're just going to copy the direction of that line. And again, I'll switch the color picker tool. There we go. And again, I can click on the triangle, make a duplicate, Command J, click and drag on this node up there, let go, and I'll do the color again. Okay, so obviously from this point, I could just copy these. I don't want to do that all over again. So I'll switch to the move tool. I'll select these two shapes here, press Command J. We'll flip them around using transform at the top there, flip horizontally. And I'll hold down Shift, click and drag. And you know why I'm holding Shift, don't you? Because it drags in a straight line. And again, I'll just try and match those colors. So I'll select that color picker tool, select that one and color picker tool again. And there we go. So we have our three-dimensional diamond. Let's polish it off by adding the background. So of course I could just use the rounded rectangle tool over here. And I'll just click and drag out a kind of rectangle there. And I want to send this to the back because it's covering everything right now. So shortcut for that would be Shift, Command, and left bracket key. Now it's all the way to the back. Let me just switch to the move tool and there we go. In fact, I want to change those corners. They're a bit too rounded. So I'll just click on A, the node tool, and that will show because it's still kind of a smart shape. I could just drag those out a little bit and change the color. We want to use a gradient, don't we? So we can use the gradient tool. The shortcut for that is G on the keyboard. So now click, drag down, and you can choose your color. There's one color node down the bottom. I'll choose a blue, click on the top. I'll choose some kind of pink, purpley color. Everything's looking very similar. We've just created a three-dimensional diamond, but there is one thing I want to show you. As you zoom in, you can probably see sometimes, you can see the background kind of appearing through here, can't you? Zooming in, you can see, I don't know, it's a little bit of an issue, okay? So I don't want that to happen. So I want this whole shape here, this whole diamond to have a background. So definitely no background will show if for some reason there is a gap between each of these little shapes, okay? So just like we did at the start of the tutorial, I'm going to select all of the shapes of the diamond. I'm going to press Command C. So I've copied it. So from this point, with all of them selected, I will go up to Boolean operations and I'll click on Add. There we go. So it's added them all together. And because I press C, I can now press Command V, which is paste. So in the background, it will be more uniform now. It won't be showing any of that purple behind it. And that's great. Okay, so I deleted the duplicate version of it as we need just one in front of us. And a couple of things that you could do to change the design slightly is to use the contour tool like we have been throughout the tutorial. So I could just go ahead and select one of the shapes, hold Shift, and just go around selecting all of the shapes of the diamond. And we could use the contour tool. So up to the left-hand side, click on that. Shortcut is O on the keyboard. Click, drag to the left slightly till you see those gaps. Bake appearance. Click on the background layer here. Change it to whatever color you want. I'll just go to the fill and change it to that color. That's one thing you could do to show the edges, but I want to create a more refined accent on these edges here. So I'm going to press Command Z and we'll do it a different way. So I'll switch to the pen tool, shortcut is P. I'll click on that and I'll go in and I'll just select once there. And you see the snapping is helping us to kind of align to these edges here. And I'll select this and I'll just go down here and click around about here. So this is the start of our accent. I want to change the thickness so it's really thin on each end and it's the thickest right here on this node. So there's a couple of ways I could do it. One way is to go to the stroke tab over here, go down to pressure and just click somewhere here to add a node, a pressure node, and then just click and drag this down. And you can see that it's thin on both sides, but the thickest part is like around here. I don't want that. If you're using this, it's kind of a guessing game which part it is. So if I drag this to the left, you can see it gets a little bit thicker over there. That's one way to do it, but I want more control. So I'm going to press reset. And what we'll do is use the stroke width tool. So over to the left-hand side, stroke width tool is W on the keyboard, the shortcut. Click on that. And the first thing we'll do is just click on this node to add a pressure point. I don't want that to change, okay? And I can go up here and just click and drag this in till it's really thin. And same thing for this one here. So I'm going to copy and paste that. So I'll just press Command J, switch to the node tool, A, click on one of the nodes, drag that over to the side there, and click on this one, drag it to around about there. And again, I can copy this. So I'll press Command J again, and I'll just drag these up here till it kind of reaches and snaps into each of those corners there. And last one is around here. You can see the width is all off. So again, we can switch to the stroke width tool. So W on the keyboard, I can see that that is the stroke width node there. So I'll just move that over there. You see, I've made it more thin and I could just drag it out. And you can see it's not getting thicker than this. And the reason for that is up in the context toolbar, see this option here? It says lock line weight. And that basically locks this stroke to the thickest part there. It will not allow me to go more than that. If I did want to go a little bit thicker there, I could go up, uncheck that box, click, drag out, and you can see you can go as wide as you want. But I'll press Command Z, re-enable that, and I'll go ahead and click on this section and just drag that out. The whole line is looking a little bit too thick, so I'll just switch to the Move tool, and I'll use the shortcut to reduce the stroke width, which is left bracket key. And finally, I could just copy these two. Maybe it's not actually needed, but I could just press Command J to make a duplicate, flip that around using the transform, flip horizontally, hold down Shift, click and drag, and there we go. If you wanted to, you could expand all of those strokes or just leave them as they are. So I could just select all of those strokes there that we've just created from the layers panel, go up to layer, expand stroke. Now you can see all the layers are kind of overlapping each other. Just click on Boolean operations add. And now they're all considered kind of one layer, as you can see there. And another way you can enhance your design, just like we've been doing throughout the tutorial, is to add a gradient. Now there is a quick way that you can apply it to all of the sides, all of the shapes of the diamond, and that is just to create a little square, and you can press G on the keyboard, click and drag out like this, and just add a little node in the middle, change the color slightly, and click on the last node there and change it to white. And then from this point forward, you can copy that style and apply it to each part. Okay, so I'm going to delete this square here because I've got a gradient that I like that I created earlier. And what I can do is just select one of the shapes, go down here to the left-hand side, long press on this and go to Style Picker tool. And now I can just select the actual shape that I've just created on the right-hand side, click once on it, and it applies it. And once it's applied it once, you see this color picker, it's full, isn't it? So I can just click on each part and just apply it like this. Very quick. And if I want to make further amendments to it, I just switch to the gradient tool, which is G, and I could just click and drag like this around. So I just click the next one and click and drag out like this. So each section, you just click once, and then you can start manipulating that a little bit more. So I'll click the top one, click and drag out, click this one, click and drag down from here, click, drag, you get the idea, right? And then the top one, I'll just click and drag out from there. So very quick way of doing it, and let's move on. In this section, we'll create an even more complex cut diamond, and this one to be exact. And the key to creating this shape here is to create some shapes that kind of look like this. And we'll use this bottom one here as a guide so that we can create our triangles and snap them in place. First thing we'll do is choose the polygon tool. So left-hand side, select the polygon tool, click and drag out your polygon, change it to a hexagon, so 6 sides. Let's go up to the context toolbar, change that to 6, press return. Excellent. Now we'll convert it to curves. So up again to the context toolbar, convert to curves, switch to the move tool, and we'll make a duplicate of this. So I'll just press Command J, that's our duplicate, just drag that down out of the way. And for this one, we will rotate it 90 degrees. So I'll just hold Shift, click and drag 90 degrees. Okay, so that one will be at the bottom and this one will be at the top. We're going to need to squash this down because it's too big at the moment. So it kind of matches up to the one that I created over there on the left. So I'll just drag the bottom handle up to around about here, and that's looking good. Basically, once you've squashed that down, go down to the transform panel and see the height. You see down here, I'm going to copy this, so Command C, and I'll go over to this shape here, and I will paste that same value that I just copied onto the width. I know I've dragged this around, so it will be copying onto the width. So Command V and return, both of them are exactly the same. So I can just drag this out, holding Shift, so keep it in proportion, and just offer it up so it kind of snaps into place. So what you're looking for is it to snap into place there. And that's looking okay. I think maybe a little bit smaller. There we go. And drag it to there. Great. Let's begin. So I'll just move these down here. And from this point, what we'll do is change this shape to any color we want. So I'll just make that a light blue. And now we'll start creating the triangles and snapping them into place, okay? Because our snapping is still turned on. So I'll start with the center one. Head down to triangle tool. There it is. And just click on there and just drag it. You just let go here and then just drag the handle till it snaps into place there. Go ahead and convert it to curves, and then you can click on the node and just drag it up until it snaps. I'll make that slightly darker. And from this point, I just copy and paste. I'm going to press Command J, and I'll move this node over to here so it snaps into place. And I'll change the color of that so it kind of matches up with this. Just to make it quicker for this tutorial, I'll use the color picker tool and copy from that one there. Okay, I'll copy and paste that again. So Command J, drag this node down to here. You see we're using that black outline as a guide. Color picker, boom. Okay, we'll copy that one more time. So Command J, drag this node up to here. And again, color picker, bang. So that's that side done. In fact, I will copy and paste all of the other shapes that I'm going to create afterwards and flip it around and put it on the other side. So obviously from this point, I could just copy this. So Command J, drag that handle down whilst holding Shift. I'll just do it to around here, and I need to change that color again. So color picker, you can just decide the colors you want to use. So I will copy and paste this again. So Command J again, and drag this node up here till it snaps into place. I'll just zoom in here because it's getting a little bit difficult. There we go. And I'll make this darker. Okay, I'll press V and I will copy this one. I'm holding Shift whilst I select these shapes, by the way. So I've selected all of those. I'm going to press Command J. I'm going to go up to Transform, going to Flip Horizontal, and I'll just hold Shift, click, and drag till it snaps into place. And I'll just make sure it has. You can always head on up to the View mode, by the way, when things are getting a little bit complex. Click on Wireframe mode, and you can just go in and just make sure that nothing's overlapping. Okay, it's looking good. So I'll just go up, turn off wireframe mode. And that guide that we were using, we don't need that anymore. So I could just go ahead and click on it and press delete. I don't need these up here anymore. So we have our diamond. Colors are looking okay. Let's try and recreate everything we see on the left-hand side. So again, you know how to create this from the previous tutorial. So I'll just copy and paste this actually. So Command, Shift, click, drag. And you can see that same thing is happening again. You can kind of see these little black lines. We don't want that. So select all of your diamond, press Command C, go up to Boolean Operations, click Add. We've got one big shape now. Now I can press Command V. The next thing we use is the contour tool. That's to get those little gaps, isn't it? So I'll just go ahead and click on O on the keyboard, click, drag to the left slightly, see how that looks. Yeah, that looks fine. I'll click on Bake Appearance. I could increase the contour of the background shape there. So again, I'll press O, click to the right, make sure the contour type is on miter joins, so it's sharp on the corner there. And that's looking okay. I can click Bake Appearance and we're done. Let's move on. In this section, we're going to create an even more complex diamond. But we're going to use all the techniques I've shown you throughout this tutorial to create it, so it shouldn't be a problem. And just like the previous section, we're going to use a guide to help us get the right proportions for all of these triangles, okay? So this is the design we're going to create, and you can see I've added a few effects on this one. So let's begin. We're going to use the polygon tool just like we did before. So head down to the left-hand side, polygon tool, select it, click and drag out your polygon. This time we're going to change it to 8 sides, okay? So it's an octagon. Up to the context toolbar, input 8, press return. We'll convert it to curves because we want to see those nodes. Click convert to curves. Right now it's just a black outline. That is completely fine. So I'll press V, the move tool, and I'll make a duplicate. So I'll just hold down Shift, Command, click, and drag, just so I can drag down a duplicate there. And let's use the first one as a reference, okay? You can see the first one has the point going up, so that's okay. Let's just squash that shape down a little bit like that. And for this one, what we're going to need to do is get the flat edge. You see the flat edge there? So I want the flat edge to be showing, but when I go to rotate, if I'm using the shift key, it doesn't give me the flat edge easily. I'll have to do it like this, and it's not exact. So I'm going to press Command Z, head down to the transform panel. Make sure you select this central node here, because that's like the rotation point, okay? And then under R, that's rotate, you're going to input 22.5 degrees and press return. Okay, so that's done, but the bounding box is a bit skew-if, so let's change that. So how we do that is press on full stop on the keyboard. So just press it once, and you can see it says regular bounds. If I want to lock this in, so it doesn't change in the future, I press Command and full stop, and that sets the selection box. Okay, I'm on the Move tool, so from this point, I just squash down like we did before, and I'll expand it as well. So I'll just hold the side, hold Command, click, drag, so I can drag it out. So when you're creating it, of course, I'm using this as a reference image here, which is helping me to try and make sure that it turns out the same as this one down here. All you need to do is just make sure that that kind of snaps to that section there in the middle. Okay, let's move this over to the right-hand side a little bit more. So just like before, we're going to click the first shape, give it a color. So I'll just go up, set stroke to none, and I'm going to set the fill to a blue color. And now all we need is the triangle tool. So over to the left-hand side, click triangle tool and drag out a triangle and just click on convert to curves in the context toolbar. I'll just change the color of that somewhat. And now using the node tool, we just click and drag until it snaps into place. Remember, my snapping is on, very important for this part. So I just click and drag all of these nodes to this guide that we've created. So again, I'm just going to copy this shape, move the node, snap it into place, and just keep doing that until it's complete, okay? So Command J made my first duplicate. Click that node there, snap it into place. I'll make it slightly darker. And again, I'm going to press Command J, click that node, match it up to there, change the color again, Command J, and you see where I'm going with this. And one more time, click Command J and change the color of that. Okay, so we've got one side done. I'll just make sure that is uniform, and I'll do the bottom shape first. So we need a triangle. Okay, so very easy for us on this one because there's already a triangle there. So I'll press Command J and I'll click on this node, hold down Shift and just drag that down so it drags down in a straight line, somewhere like that. And I'll change the color of that again, just so it's obvious that they're all different sections for you at least watching. And again, I can press Command C, Command V, another duplicate method, click that node, snap it into place up there, change the color again. And now I'll just click on the Move tool and I'll just select all of the shapes that I want to duplicate and flip around the other side, okay? So Command J, go up to Transform, flip horizontal, hold down Shift so you can drag in a straight line, click and drag. Okay, that has snapped into place. Let's just double check that. And of course we can go up to our wireframe mode at the top just to check that nothing is overlapping. No, all looking good. Okay, uncheck wireframe mode and we can delete that guide in the middle there. So I'll just select all of this and just bring it close to our design. Obviously I've made it slightly bigger, this one, so I can scale down. And throughout the tutorial, I've shown you how to use like solid colors and then gradients. So I'm just going to go ahead and create the gradient just like I did before, apply it, and then I will pick up after that. Okay, so I'll probably fast forward this bit because I've just shown you how to do this in the last section if you were watching. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to just create myself a little gradient, clicking on the rectangle, draw out a rectangle, and I'll click on G, that's shortcut for the gradient tool, click and drag out, and I'll just make my gradient. So I'm going to choose a different kind of blue here, and for this side I'll just choose a white color and I'll just drag that out a little bit. Okay, I'll switch to the Move tool. I'll select a portion of the design I want and then go to the Style Picker tool, click on that. I'll make sure I unload the attributes because I just used it before. Click on that. So I'll use that Style Picker, click once, you can see it's full, and then I just go around clicking on each part which applies that gradient. Okay, I'll manipulate the gradient and we'll pick up. Okay, that part is complete. Now we just need to add a background. So just like before, we can head on over, click on the rounded rectangle tool, click and drag out, send it to the back. So shortcut, Command, Shift, left bracket key to send it right to the back. And we'll just make sure that's centered by enabling snapping again. There we go. And I'll change the gradient. So I'll press G, click, drag, make the bottom bit blue. And I'll select the top node there, just make that completely black. And again, we will go in and have a look, see if there's any gaps. You can kind of see there is something there. So I'll just select all of those layers, and just like we've been doing time and time again, I'll press Command C. I'll go up to Boolean operations and click add. Now I'll press Command V to add that in there, and now no black gaps there. Okay, so the next thing we can do is add all of these highlights to the diamond, and I showed you how to do that. So I'll fast forward it, maybe put a little bit of music there, and then we'll go ahead and add this glowing effect to it. So I've applied all of the highlights in strokes, and I'm just about to expand them. So I'm just going to go to Layer and Expand Stroke. I'm going to add them all together using Boolean operations, add. So now they're all added. What I'm going to do is copy this layer. So I'm going to press Command J, and in the Layers panel, I'll just choose the bottom layer there. I'm going to apply a Gaussian blur to it to give it that kind of dreamy effect. So I'll go to FX tab. I'll click on Gaussian blur, and we'll just increase that slightly. You see you get that kind of glowing effect when we do that. So I'll place it around about here. Let me zoom out, see what it looks like. Yeah, that's fine. And I'll press Scale with Object, just in case later on I scale this object up and down. So what else can we do to it? It's looking pretty good right now. Well, we could add a layer behind it, I guess a blue color. So that's what I've done here. See this layer? We're going to recreate that. So I'll just click on the diamond and just find the base shape. That's the Superman symbol, this one here. So I'll just press Command J on that one, and I'll make sure I choose the bottom layer, and I'll just change that color in the color tab to some kind of really deep blue. And you can't see it right now, but it's behind here. I'll increase the blue a little bit more. And from this point, I'll just scale it up somewhat, just a little bit. And from here, I will apply the Gaussian blur. So let me just drag it down a little bit. I go to FX, Gaussian blur. I just drag the radius up until I'm happy. So it's adding a kind of glow to it, especially if the background was a little bit darker. I think that's okay. I'll press Scale with Object, and I'll press Close. So I can probably increase that a little bit more. Maybe I'll just drag it down here. Yeah, tiny bit more, and then we're done. Okay, and close. And for the background, if I want it to reveal that it's kind of glowing, I'm clicking on the background. I'll press on the gradient tool, and I'll just drag this center bit down a little bit more. There's a bit more black. Now you can see that glow coming through slightly. There's only one last thing to add, and that is the finishing touches. So let's head on over and check out what we missed out. It's the stars, isn't it? So to add those stars, simply head on over to the left-hand side and find the double star tool. That's what I'm going to use, and click and draw out your double star. You can choose the number of points you want in the context toolbar. I'm going to go for 4, and you can play around with how long each of these star points is going to be. And once you're happy with that, just drag it down into position. I think that's a little bit too big, so I'll just scale that down. Somewhere like that is perfect. You can add a Gaussian blur to this if you wish as well, and just hold down Command, click and drag to make a copy. And finally, I'll just center this design that's more visually pleasing, and I'll just drag it up, and there we go. I think that is good. If you managed to complete that last diamond, congratulations to you. So here's a quick recap of what we were able to do. Just by using some really simple shapes, we're able to create a simple diamond shape like this. We're able to manipulate it with the contour tool, add some colors, add some gradient, and then we made some different versions of it. Very simple. Just going through all of them, we added them all together using the Boolean operations, and we applied a gradient to the whole thing. And then we created a different kind of diamond, using very simple shapes again, using the shape builder tool to create each little section of the diamond, and we were able to add adjustments to change the color just in an instant. And then we went on to the 3D diamonds, again using simple shapes like the polygon tool and the trapezoid tool and the triangle tool, and we were just copying and pasting from there on out, of course using the contour tool again, using gradients again. Then we used the pen tool and the stroke width tool to create these little highlights, which add a little something. And then if you combine them both together, the gradients and the stroke width tool with those highlights, you get something that looks a little bit like this. And then we went a little bit more complex, still using the polygon tool, but we kind of squashed them down. We used an extra one as a guide to help us create those diamonds that you see here. And we used a little bit of the contour tool at the end to show the highlighted areas. And then the last one, of course, was an octagon, so 8-sided, and we used all the same things that I've been showing you throughout the tutorial, all the same techniques. And then we went ahead and added little finishing touches of the Gaussian blur glow in the background and also the stars just to give it that shine. And that's it. We were able to create all of that just from simple shapes. So that's it for this tutorial. If you liked it, let me know in the comments section and check out all the other videos. I have a lot of Affinity Designer videos, so go check out those and learn. And you know, there's the pen tool, shape builder tool, almost all the tools in Affinity Designer. I've created a tutorial for them. So go ahead and check those out, and I will see you on the next video.